The camera was now panning the tanks crawling down the streets of the capital. We shall see if this nation is indeed ready for democracy. The reporter signed off. We must have faith, Mr. Bolivar finally spoke up. For the sake of our sons, for the sake of our country, El Pasito will liberate itself.
16 years ago, after the fields were burned, the droughts came. The next year, the rains came. She went on. One finger, then another lightly tapped my face. A second flood to punish the wicked. But then, the water stopped. Everything turned green again. The earth teaches us to be forgiving.
I want to improve my English, Pablo explained. Miss Morris has given me extra lessons, but she speaks very fast. It's true, our English teacher was a speed talker. I wish for you to help me with my English, Pablo had lowered his voice as he was asking for something intimate.
Hundreds, no thousands of stars filled the night sky. There are so many I couldn't really say there was a first to wish by. They say each one is a soul. No wonder so many can be seen above Los Luceros. Our dead are watching us.
How tranquil and happy we'd been, not knowing what had happened in this place only months before. I felt my head spin in a way that it always does when I take in too much and don't know where to put it. Some things I thought might be too big for the heart to feel all at once, or for the heart to feel all by itself. Suddenly, I was so glad Pablo was here beside me.
Brown and white faces surrounded me, some strange, some familiar. The days I'd been in since leaving home finally lifted. I was really here. It was hours since the Bolivars had arrived at their Pasito, but it was only now that I landed in my little country too.
I lifted the lid and made myself look down. I don't know what I was expecting, a teensy baby, body parts, or what. The stuff looked boringly normal, a bunch of envelopes and folded up newspaper clippings.
Inside an envelope, we found a locket of wheat-colored hair braided together with dark black hair. My birth mothers and fathers. Another envelope was full of old photos, which I hoped dreaded would be my birth parents or the place I'd been born.
We walked several blocks, climbed over a low seawall, and there it was, the ocean. I took off my shoes and broke into a run. It always has that effect on me. Nothing compares with the sea. For me, it's better than a church or a temple. Gulls calling and sails bailing out on windy days, and that wonderful sound of the surf splashing on the sand. God saying over and over again, "Here I am, here I am."
Poor family has been through hell. Dan went on to tell how Senor Bolivar's brother, a journalist, has been murdered. His oldest son has been taken away by the secret police. They still don't know where he is. The middle son had to go into hiding.
What he said would have been corny if it wasn't so totally true. How families were made with their heart. How out of incredible tragedy had come the miracle of understanding and love. How we were all a familia now. Kate glanced over at me uncertainly, then looked away with tears in her eyes.
I believe in the truth too, Millie. But I had an uncle. I loved my uncle. He was a very good uncle. But he was also a general. Maybe he was not so good a person when he was a general. I would never want to punish the good uncle, but what to do about the cruel general?
Children come to families in different ways. Dad always quoted Mom when he didn't know what to say during a heart-to-heart. However, it didn't annoy me as much when Dad said things as when Mom did.
Now they have their freedom from one tyranny. The tyranny of poverty is still with us. Poor people were everywhere. At red lights, beggars crowded around the car. Little kids in rags threw sponges at the windshield hoping to earn some extra money, wiping them clean.
At the top, we stood a moment, catching our breath, looking out at the ocean. A palette of turquoise, aquamarine, navy, every blue you could think of. Above the water, the palettes changed to reds, scarlet, orange, crimson gold, as the sun descended toward the horizon.
It turned out that Daniel's memorial ceremony would be in two parts: a public ceremony on Friday in the Capitol, which included the unveiling of a plaque at the park near where he was murdered, followed by a high mass at the cathedral. Then Saturday, Daniel's remains would be taken for private burial in the cemetery near the old family farm, where his mother still lived, next to the village of Los Luceros.
We came up with all kinds of miracles, including the classic voice from heaven. My Esperanza must go to Vermont to spread the true faith to all those Protestants. Soon we were laughing. It felt good to see Esperanza happy for a change.
Pablo nodded absently. I could feel him slipping away into his bad memories. Every victim in my country is a father, a mother, a brother, and uncle. His voice faltered. Pablo had told me about his uncle Tio Daniel, a radical journalist who was murdered a month or so after the Bolivares had escaped to the States.
The sun is going down fast, but just before it sets, there's an angel where it hits the sand and the water. For a moment, when I open my eyes, there's a little more light on the beach.